And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Loopin through life, heading yet another coaster dive today. Recently just visited Six Flags Darien Lake and was thoroughly impressed with this wonderful Intamin hypercoaster known as Superman Ride of Steel. It's tall, fast, it's aggressive, and oh crap, I didn't bring Ferris again.
Yeah, again. You didn't bring me. You flew across the damn country for another coaster, and I'm still stuck in the studio with a busted Keurig and your crusty leftover pizza.
I mean, Ferris, in all fairness, airlines really don't allow foxes to be brought on as carry-on pets.
Oh, please. You think Spirit Airlines gives a crap? They let a guy fly with a live iguana in his pants. One more trip without me, and I'm hijacking your YouTube login and replacing every video with footage of you sobbing on Small World.
Either way, guys, hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Superman's ultimate flight. And yeah, Ferris, I don't really need all your mean insults today.
Already editing the thumbnail, loser. Now let's dive into Superman before you cry again.
Let's rewind the clock to the late 1990s, a time when thrill rides were exploding across the theme park industry. Cedar Point had just introduced Magnum XL 200, ushering in the hypercoaster era. Six Flags, determined to stay competitive and relevant, was rapidly expanding and investing in massive steel thrill machines. Darien Lake, a park located in western New York, had joined the Six Flags family in 1998, and it needed a big-ticket ride to put it on the national map. That ride would become Superman, Ride of Steel, an Intamin mega coaster that would not only define the park's skyline, but also become one of the most ambitious coaster installations in the region. Opening to the public on May 15, 1999, Superman Ride of Steel was part of a bold new era for Darien Lake. It was the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the state of New York at the time, towering 208 feet into the sky and reaching a top speed of 73 miles per hour. Designed by legendary coaster engineer Werner Stengel and manufactured by Intamin, the ride was an instant draw, signaling that Darien Lake was ready to play in the big leagues of thrill parks. Why here? Why then? Because Six Flags saw potential. Darien Lake was a major regional park with decent attendance and a prime location between Buffalo and Rochester. But it lacked a signature steel hypercoaster, a headline-making thrill ride that could drive media attention, season pass sales, and tourism. In short, they needed their version of Magnum. Something tall, fast, iconic, and built to last. The decision to go with Intamin's mega coaster model came from its blend of intensity, simplicity, and re-rideability. It wouldn't be the tallest or the flashiest in the Six Flags lineup, but it would be reliable, deliver serious airtime, and give the park something to advertise for years to come. It also helped that Intamin offered a somewhat modular layout, which kept costs relatively controlled. At around $12 million, it was a major investment, but not an outrageous one by Six Flags standards in the late 90s. And it worked. The ride immediately became the crown jewel of Darien Lake's coaster collection, a ride so large it could be seen from the highway, drawing in thrill seekers from all over the Northeast. Now known simply as Ride of Steel, this coaster has delivered over 2 decades of screams, airtime, and unforgettable first drops. Standing at 208 feet tall, with a first drop of 205 feet, and a top speed of 73 miles per hour, Ride of Steel is all about raw, high-speed airtime and powerful forces. When it debuted, it was among the tallest coasters east of the Mississippi and easily the most extreme in the region. With over 5,300 feet of track and a 2-minute ride time, it offers a substantial experience that balances airtime hills, smooth banking turns, and a pair of spiraling helices that keep riders pinned to their seats. The ride begins with a slow, winding 180-degree turn out of the station, giving you a brief moment to realize what you've signed up for. The train then ascends the 208-foot chain lift hill, slowly climbing higher and higher until the moment of silence at the summit, followed by a 205-foot drop at a 68-degree angle. It's one of the purest drops you'll find, plunging riders into a free fall that slams into a top speed of 73 miles per hour. From there, it's a massive camelback hill with sustained floater airtime, a wide sweeping turnaround, and then a 540-degree helix that wraps riders in a forceful spiral. Several more camelback hills follow, including one twisted airtime hill that mixes lateral forces with airtime. After that, the ride hits a second, tighter helix, and then races through a few last-minute bunny hills before slamming into the magnetic brake run. It's clean, smooth, and relentless. The kind of layout that makes you want to run right back around and do it again. Each train holds 32 riders, 8 cars, with 2 rows per car. Restraints are simple, a lap bar and a seatbelt. And that's part of what makes Ride of Steel stand out. There's no over-the-shoulder restraint, no vest, no gimmicks, just you, a lap bar, and physics. The openness of the train adds to the fear factor, especially in the front row, where that first drop feels like falling off a cliff. Ride of Steel originally featured heavy theming around Superman. Trains bore the Superman logo, the station had comic-inspired branding, and the ride was marketed as the Man of Steel's personal coaster. That branding remained until 2006, when Darien Lake left the Six Flags chain. As part of the transition, all licensed DC Comics properties were removed. The ride was stripped of its Superman name, and all associated theming was taken down. Since then, the coaster has simply been known as Ride of Steel. When Six Flags took over park operations again in 2018, they never reapplied the Superman branding, making this version of the ride more stripped down and generic, but still a fan favorite. Despite its clean record in terms of mechanical reliability, Ride of Steel hasn't been without serious incidents. Just one day after opening in May 1999, a rider was ejected from the train after the lap bar failed to properly restrain him on one of the final airtime hills. The rider, who weighed over 350 pounds, fell approximately 9 feet and sustained serious injuries. In response, the park made quick changes to the ride system, including the addition of seat belts and more thorough operator training. Then, on July 8, 2011, the coaster made national news after a fatal incident involving Iraq War veteran James Hackamer. Hackamer, who had lost both legs in combat, was ejected from the ride due to being improperly secured. The park was heavily criticized for allowing him to ride despite clear restrictions. Following this tragedy, Darien Lake implemented stricter safety policies, including better restraint signage and revised boarding procedures. Since then, the ride has run without major incident, and it remains one of the most popular coasters at the park. And despite being over 2 decades old, it's still considered a must-ride by enthusiasts. Why? Because it nails the fundamentals. The airtime is legit, the pacing is excellent, and the design, while simple compared to newer hypercoasters, still holds its own. Ride of Steel has a nearly identical twin at Six Flags America in Maryland, which opened in 2000 and uses a mirrored version of the layout. Both coasters were part of Six Flags' early 2000s push to install signature rides across multiple parks, using slightly varied templates to save on engineering and design. Many enthusiasts prefer the Darien Lake version, citing smoother track and a more enjoyable first drop. But regardless of which side you fall on, there's no denying that Ride of Steel helped define the modern hypercoaster era. Unlike newer coasters that cram in every element possible, launches, inversions, stalls, trim brakes, Ride of Steel keeps it simple. A tall lift, a steep drop, massive airtime hills, and tight helices. That's it. No frills, no fluff, just speed and airtime. And that's exactly why it's still so good. Even if the coaster doesn't have the flashiest theming or the newest trains, it has something that many modern rides lack. A soul, a personality. That no-nonsense attitude that says, "You want thrills? Here's 208 feet of them." And for a coaster built before most smartphones existed, that's saying something. So if you find yourself at Six Flags Darien Lake, don't overlook this steel giant. It may not wear a cape anymore, but it still flies, and it still delivers one hell of a ride. That's the Ride of Steel. Thanks for joining us on this coaster dive today. Now it's back to the studio with Ryan and Ferris.
And that's going to be a wrap today, guys, with our deep dive into Superman Ride of Steel, a ride that actually proves Darien Lake is now able to flex some muscle.
Yeah, and it proves you can somehow make it through another trip without getting arrested or sunburned beyond recognition. Truly heroic.
Either way, guys, thanks for watching this coaster dive. Be sure to like and subscribe if you're new to this channel, and maybe drop a comment below of how you think Ferris needs anger management.
Tell me that again, and I'll replace your next voiceover with dramatic readings of your old Facebook statuses. Stay looping, humans.